What is going on, guys? Your boy Joey Shake 72 coming to you guys with a video right now. So obviously we're going to go over the Nick Sirianni press conference. I'm going to go through the whole thing, and obviously I'll have some separate videos on certain things that are important for people that don't want to watch this whole thing. This might be a little bit long, but we'll get through it. So obviously Jeffrey Lurie has the opening statement, likes Nick Sirianni on not relying on scheme. I thought that was a little bit of a little dig to Doug Peterson, all about game planning against defenses, gaining trust of players, motivate players, increase accountability, leadership, command a room, has an edge. Like I said, not tied to a scheme at all, which I think was really important. It's not about just the scheme. It's obviously the talent within the scheme, but how to game plan as well. From Nick Sirianni comes on to the podium and says some really good things of what he kind of represents in his coaching. Competing every single day, every play is perfect. Accountability, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, set the standard. Being a smart football team, knowing what to do, what not to do, being good in the system, and let the talent just take over the system. So obviously he evaluates more talent over just having a scheme, obviously. Game management, situational football, fundamentals, winning 1v1, 1v1 matchups, even when an offense and a defense call two good plays against each other, who's going to win that matchup. And Nick Sirianni is always game planning, very micromanaging those little tiny things that I really do like in him. Okay, reaching a player of excellence through fundamentals. I think fundamentals was the last thing he talked about. Being good at every position, every player being good at all of their positions, using players to their strengths and weaknesses. I'm probably going to say it a couple times because he didn't mention that a few times during this interview as well. Now the main question came up. Here was the toxic questions of Carson Wentz to evaluate the entire roster. Now, he thinks that both QBs and Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz are two top-notch quarterbacks, that a lot of rosters don't have quarterbacks like this, that are looking for quarterbacks right now. And he is excited to work with both of them. Now, the next question was conversations with Carson Wentz. Obviously, he's talked to Wentz. He's not going to tell us, obviously the private conversations, but they were good conversations. Now, hiring the defensive coordinator of Jonathan Gannon was huge. Spent 3 years with Jonathan Gannon. Talked about Jonathan Gannon as an energetic guy, football IQ off the charts. Players always play well for him and want to play for him. His energy is contagious, and he is a tireless worker, which is pretty cool. Nice to hear that. Now, he talked to Jalen Hurts. Is excited to work with him and getting to know him as a player, not just him, but every player on this roster. Someone asked about if this team is going to be a contender playoff team. He's pretty much said, what starts all this is the coaching. They're going through the first phase right now. They're not they're not too far in this right now. Only a week he's been a head coach. He's going to be evaluating the roster. And says that Howie Roseman has made a talented group with this whole roster. So, you got to laugh at certain things because they say things that, maybe he does believe that. I don't know. Maybe he sees things on this team that we don't. I don't think he's, I think we have some talented guys on this team, but I don't think our whole roster is anything special right now. But we're going to have to see in, obviously, forward time. Now, someone asked about Nick Sirianni's offensive philosophy. Now, he likes to attack multiple ways. And the thing is really cool about it, he's used three different quarterbacks in Andrew Luck and Brissett and Phillip Rivers, and they've all been pretty successful in that system with the Colts. Obviously, he talked about the strengths of players. Situational, always using situational players. He cares a lot about the personnel on strengths and weaknesses and use them to their full advantage. So he's not going to put a player in a spot to where they know he's going to be weak in that spot. Obviously, he's going to know every player's strength and weaknesses through in and out this roster. is not just going to throw him in there just because he has to do it. He's going to throw people in there and use that situational football to use this to our advantage and what these players are good at on the field. So that's really important. Now, someone asked about if there's going to be an open QB competition. He's still evaluating. He's not ready to say. So any quarterback questions, not ready to say. Now, someone asked about the receiver position. He hasn't really seen a lot on tape yet. Still early. The only knowledge he has of players that came from the draft. Obviously, we haven't played the Colts. We played the Colts once the past couple years, so obviously there's not a lot of tape. It's not like we were in the same division as the Colts, so obviously he doesn't have all that information on every single player. But due time, the season's not even over yet. The Super Bowl isn't even here yet, so we just have to wait and see. Now, Nick Sirianni talked about Shane Steichen, the new offensive coordinator. Obviously, spent 4 years with him, or known him for 4 years, and likes Shane's mind. Thinks the same way as Nick Sirianni does. Gets the best out of his QBs, especially with Phillip Rivers and Justin Herbert for having a really good year. Pretty much getting the best plays to win a football game and game planning, which with Shane Steichen has been his strength. His game planning, matchups, everything, which was pretty cool to hear. They asked Nick Sirianni about Jeff Stoutland, the offensive line coach that we thought was going to leave to go to Alabama to be the offensive line coach. Technique fundamentals is where Nick Sirianni best described Jeff Stoutland, the best out of his players. We all know how Jeff Stoutland is with this offensive line and how close he is with these guys, and the just developing offensive lineman is fantastic. I think this offensive line going into 2021 is great. Obviously, if there's no injuries, it'd be even better. So now people are asking about his play calling game plan with the Colts. Play calling, did he do most of the play calling? What was the answer to that? Now Frank would actually ask Nick on plays, what they should do on certain plays, on certain matchups, et cetera, which I think, it sounds like Nick was calling a lot of plays for the Colts. And what Nick has talked about Monday through Saturday practice, Monday through Saturday film room, getting these guys prepared for game day, getting these guys prepared for certain situations, which is kind of crazy. They'll do, Nick really described how they would do situational football at practice, like plays for 3rd and 12, plays for 2nd and 5, plays for 3rd and 2. Like, he has so many plays dialed down in his head on especially on the same verge of using his players the right way to their strengths. He's actually got plays dialed down for like certain downs and things that really, confuse defenses, and I really do like that. I think that's really cool. I think that's really awesome, because I don't think Doug ever really did that. I think he just called whatever he wanted to call, and that was it. But this guy has actual plays for certain downs, and that playbook is probably like 10 pages long, probably more. So I'm very, very happy to even hear that. So everyone was asking about Carson Wentz on his steep decline this past year. Is there a time frame on when Nick is going to get a starter? Talk about a starting quarterback. And honestly, he hasn't really thought about it yet. He said, I really haven't thought about it yet. Last thing on my mind is a starting quarterback right now. Still evaluating the whole entire team. Now, the one thing that Nick has is passion for his players. Now, someone asking about turning guys from injury, guys like Carson Wentz, bringing them back to what they once were. Okay. And, Nick Sirianni, one of the reasons they brought him in was he was very good with QBs. And, I think Nick Sirianni shared a story of when he was in college, he got hurt. His coach came up to him, gave some really encouraging words, like, we're going to miss you out there. Gave some encouraging words, and it really motivated him to come back. And, Nick Sirianni has that, you know what I mean? And, we're going to see if they bring Carson back or whatever happens with him. And, I think he brings a lot of careness and stability to a position, especially at quarterback, which is pretty cool. So someone asked about 3 different starting QBs handling the QB situation in Philly. Obviously, 3 quarterbacks with the Colts, with Brissett, Phillip Rivers, and having Andrew Luck before he retired. How is he going to handle the QB situation in Philadelphia? And he kind of just went off topic a little bit, saying like, we're going to figure out ways to win each game, figure out a way to win with each quarterback at all, and not even just the quarterback, for all positions. He's found out a way to win with all 3 quarterbacks from the Colts. Okay, what players do best? That's what's really important. So someone asked about the NFC East. A lot of veteran coaches in the NFC East. He's the youngest coach there with the less experience. And Nick had something really cool to say. He said that what's important is the core values, connecting, accountability, which player, what you could take from a player, what a player takes from a coach, the connection between a player and coach. Reach levels to a player that would bring him to a whole nother level of his play, with having that connection with a head coach. That's motivation, which is pretty cool. Now someone asked, will Wentz be back with the Eagles in 2021? He said evaluating still. Not going to answer that question. So someone asked him about, would he rather be the CEO coach where he took over the whole roster, or just be a play caller? He said that the decision was he wanted to be a play caller. That's his bread and butter. That's where he's from. And obviously that's what we wanted. We want Nick Sirianni to call the plays. Talked about his QB coach, Brian Johnson. Since Brian Johnson's one of the only coaches hired so far, he was the Gators offensive coordinator in college, and honestly, no connection to Sirianni whatsoever, but said that obviously Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson think exactly alike. They both have a philosophy. There's a picture I would have put up, but I forgot to post it. But there was like a QB room, in the QB room, Brian Johnson actually has like a bunch of sayings on the wall, and it's like a religion. Like he takes that, Brian Johnson takes that quarterback room like as like a religion. Like they have their own thing. It's a religion. It's something it's rules that they follow, and I really do like that a lot from Brian Johnson. And from what Nick said about him, obviously the two think very much alike, so that's a great thing. Now, the most important thing of this, it's already going on 12 and a half minutes of this video. The most important thing to this, the final say on the roster. Okay, now, free agency. Now, Howie Roseman is going to have full control of the 53-man roster. Nick Sirianni is going to have control of who plays on game day. Okay? The draft, Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman will share power for the draft. They will be in a collaborative effort for the draft. But at the end of the day, Howie Roseman will be in charge of the 53-man roster. This whole press conference went very well, except for that last part I just read, okay? And this scares me a little bit. And I'll get into, obviously, I'll make a separate video on it. But, guys, that was pretty much it on this whole press conference. I was impressed. I haven't seen a coach like this in a long time with the Eagles. So it's just like the guy's young, the guy's innovative in what he wants to do. And, man, he micromanages every little thing to make sure everything is absolutely perfect. And I love it. And I can't wait to see this guy on the field, mic'd up. Can't wait to see how he coaches. Can't wait to see everything. And I'm excited to see obviously the offensive coordinator, Shane Steichen, and Jonathan Gannon, defensive coordinators of those interviews as well. But this was a full review of Nick Sirianni. Kind of went through the whole list of what was talked about, paraphrased it a little bit. So appreciate everybody being here today. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Guys, haven't hit the like button on this video, hit the like button. Check out the description for merch, etc., etc. And I will see you guys later. Appreciate you joining me. Shake Squad up, fly out, sly. Peace out, guys. Peace.